I am Anto Budiardjo. I'm CEO of Paddy. I have spent the last 30 years building integration platforms. So this subject is very important to me.
And I'm Nicolas Waern. I'm the CEO of consultancy company Winniio, and I try to help companies and people understand what to do in order to leverage modern technology where they're based today. So this, again, is also very important with digital twins.
I see the two terms as two sides of the same coin, right? They're really trying to achieve the same thing. They're trying to connect different systems together and different devices together. I see the slight difference is that integration really is an objective. You're trying to integrate different systems together. And interoperability is really talking about the mechanisms about how to make integration or how to connect different systems easily. That's kind of how I see it.
Perfect. And I think, they have to be there, but if you choose one, what comes first? It's definitely interoperability. If you don't have interoperability of an onset or thought about it from a long-term perspective, then you might be able to do this integration work, but you wouldn't make it so that it's interoperable in the long term, or it doesn't really scale. That's sort of how I see it.
And I can confirm that because I've seen a lot of integration done without interoperability. In fact, I've done many of those myself, and it's often achievable because you need to just get on with it. But it suffers in the end, and that's in the context of digital twin, that's dangerous down the road.
Absolutely. And I think from making a relation or like an analogy or what I call a reference to software development, I think it's also, you can always make things talk to each other in some way, shape, or form. But then if someone else wants to come in and work with that code or do something in the future, then if they don't understand this, if it hasn't been done in an interoperable way, then they're just going to rip and replace. And that's sort of like perpetuating this notion of integration without an intent for interoperability and long-term perspective. So I think it's very important for a digital twin perspective. So basically, if you continue to do silo-based integration from a digital twin in a domain, and you just digitalizing that, you're just perpetuating the problem and shuffling that to either the cloud or to somewhere else. And then at some point, you're not going to be able to talk to other things that are very, very relevant in understanding the context or what the real world looks like.
So I recall learning about digital twin first some time ago, and I recall thinking that this is really fundamentally an integration challenge. But the big difference here is that it's an integration challenge at scale. You really with a twin concept, you're trying to integrate many different systems, many different types of systems, and to try and do that without interoperability at the different levels is really sort of foolhardy. So that's why the two go hand in hand. The word scale is really important.
Absolutely, and I think the scale part is interesting because if you're looking at the ultimate digital twin, that should be, again, like a digital twin of everything that goes on in the real world. But you always have to start somewhere. And I think that digital journey of knowing where to start, how to start, it's, you don't necessarily know exactly where, but you have to have this basis of interoperability and integration, of course, to do that and, being able to work with the unknown, which is basically the future. So I think they definitely go hand in hand.
It really has to be both people and machine. I think from a machine perspective, and if you look at it, if you look at the sort of the stack of what interoperability needs to deal with, it's a difficult word, I know to say. You start with the technical interoperability, which is really about the wires and standards like Ethernet and Wi-Fi and other things. And then above that, you need to think about the syntactic interoperability, which is APIs and how different systems talk to each other using protocols. And then above that, and this is a relatively new subject in the technology field, is the semantic side of things. How can semantic understanding of all these systems be done in an interoperable manner? And above that is obviously the people and organization. And Nicolas, I think you'll want to focus on that.
No, no. Of course, I mean, I think it's for people first, because I think if you look at the world today, we have the people, we have the technology. It's just that they're not necessarily at the same place at the same time, nor that they can understand each other. So I think like the semantic operability is also in terms of how people can communicate with each other in a better way, where the digital twin can act as a boundary spanning element between different domains, so that we can understand the reality that we're working with. And I think that's more of the first point, because even if you want to do AI or machine learning or advanced analytics or whatever that is, it's still people that needs to work together, and hopefully with a shared understanding of what the reality that they're working with. So I think it's for people first, but then machines close second, because data integration, the problem is again like with data models and this semantic interoperability piece. But I think it's definitely for people first.
Maybe we can agree that it's where people meet that sort of semantic level and move on.
Absolutely. I think the Digital Twin Consortium, I mean, brings people and these together that can make this happen. Not only to talk about it, but hopefully also to get stuff done, because we have a climate crisis on our hands, and I think digital twins can be used a lot for driving simulations and models about what will happen if the water level rises by X amount of centimeters, meters, and how will that affect everything. So I think it's really important to not only talk about this from a research perspective and defining what the hammer is or what the technology is, but also tying it to use cases and getting the people together to get this done for real.
So what fills me with hope with the Digital Twin Consortium and other similar initiatives around the world is really, if you're looking at the membership and the diverse sort of types and categories of companies and organizations that are working in this space, trying to work together. And from integration and interoperability, that's really key, because it's a people problem and an organization problems. There are different domains that need to be integrated with the digital twin. So having all of those people at the table is really the way to deal with it. And a digital twin is really sort of the mechanism, I think, that we can actually work together to solve big problems in the short term and also in the long term.